Okay, so hello everybody. I am Alec Parra with California Center for Native Nations here at UC Riverside, and I am excited today to be interviewing one of our undergrad who is Native and doing great research. So everybody welcome Jordyn Ramirez. Jordyn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Skaktash. My name is Jordyn Ramirez. I am a fourth year biochemistry major, and I'm a member of the Donatum tribe.
Thank you. Okay, so my first question would be, can you tell us a little bit about your research and your role in your project?
Yeah, so at the beginning, this was a loaded question. But as I got through the training, it's gotten a little easier. So the point of our research is called Healthcare Journeys Through Visual Representation. So it's kind of, we focus on hearing a Native individual's life story, as well as what they have like felt or experienced when it comes to receiving healthcare or pursuing a healthcare career. So it's mostly where we just want to learn about people's individual journeys, but also put the importance of increasing the cultural sensitivity to Native health needs and benefits. So it's kind of like we try to focus on graphic medicine. So graphic medicine kind of refers to like using visual storytelling, kind of like comics and graphic novels, because things are just so much easier as a comic. But it's kind of like talking about healthcare or having like a narrative on illness or medical education. So, what we do is we do an interview, right? We do a one-on-one interview with a Native individual who would like to participate. And we ask them one-on-one questions about like their life journey, their experiences through healthcare. And we, at the end, do a visual drawing of their journey. And it's a lot of pressure because it's really precious when you're given someone's journey and you want to do their journey justice by creating a beautiful representation of it. So it's a lot of pressure, but it's also rewarding when you get to see that you did a good enough job when you do one-on-one meetings with them again to kind of like collaborate with each other, go over like what they liked, what they didn't like, what they thought differently, because that's important. We don't think of just like doing one visual and then just give it to them, like, this is what I did.
Mhm.
Um, we want to make sure that we're doing what they also envision as well, because their vision is important because it's their vision, it's their story. So it's kind of what we do. Afterwards, we hand it to them, kind of like tell them thank you, after doing all the revisions and stuff. But yeah.
Nice. I love that. I love the artistic inclusion with that. So that kind of leads into like my next question of what research methods do you use?
Yeah. A lot of emailing, a lot of Zoom meetings. Really just a one-on-one kind of interview of questions that we have. Yeah, one-on-ones.
And then were there any unexpected challenges in your research and how were you able to adapt to them?
Oof. Um, some challenges I would say is IRB. So, IRB is basically this research board that approves or denies if your research is humane. And it's really important because that really pretty much includes if your research should go on or not, especially when you're dealing with people and when you're dealing with human interactions. You want to make sure that it's humane, that you're not asking like weird, unhumane questions. So it's really important, and we got approved, but that was a challenge where they kept sending back so many, like, you should revise this. Like, oh, okay, we'll revise that. We'll get back to you. But thankfully it didn't take too long. So,
Nice. Yeah, that's surprising that they would want to, well, surprising and not surprising at the same time. But so that leads again to my next question about what does decolonizing research mean to you? and how does your work engage with that idea?
Yeah. So I guess decolonizing research to me is kind of going through a non-Western method. And also when it comes to like our research specifically, a non-Western method to get to know somebody for the research. So it's during our research, we focus on, medicine, but also like a non-Western approach to capturing a story with the intention of the importance of culture and cultural identity, and also how it relates to our well-being and what our definition of health and medicine is. So it's like the importance of culture and embodying that culture into the pieces. That's kind of like our way of like, aha, we did that. We drew that. You know that. But yeah.
Nice. So besides like having to revise, are there any other tensions between Western academic research norms and Indigenous ways of knowing? And are there any other ways that you found you had to navigate that?
I think for us, when it comes to asking someone to be a part of the research, right, there's been a lot of conversations or jokes within the Native Student Programs office about if you want something, come talk to me in person. But that's just the same way as I feel. It's just we have emails set up, of course. When we're reaching out to someone like, hey, we think like you'd be a really great fit. If you're comfortable, meet with us one-on-one. We'll kind of talk to you, talk through what the procedures look like and what the research looks like. But I also think having that personable part of going up to the person in person and talk to them about it, going that extra mile to kind of get to meet them in person when you're asking. So it's just something like that where it's like, I like emails as much as the next person, but I'd also prefer to go and like ask a professor in person or ask a person within the community in person, like, hey, I was like, we're doing this thing, wondering if you're interested. If you'd like, we can talk about it another day. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think a lot of in the Native community, it's all about community and who you know and forming those relationships.
Yeah.
Um, With
It's like
that,
that's important. Yeah.
yes. But with that, what preliminary findings or insights have emerged from your work so far?
To be honest, we just started. We did a lot of piloting before to kind of get to like help us practice.
Mhm.
But because we got approved not too long ago, honestly, there's mm, I think one thing that I've realized during this research, what kind of just gives myself insight, is that when I was first starting to train, I knew that I was going to start interviewing people and getting to hear their story. But it didn't really hit me like how precious that really was because you really are getting to know someone, and they're being vulnerable with you, and it's your responsibility to take care of that and to do their life story justice as well through visual representation, as well as being personable and getting to be able to communicate with them and connect with them in that way. So that's one of my insights is just like identity is huge. Identity is one of the biggest topics in our research because it's something that we like to talk about and it's something that we want to embody in our graphic visuals. So getting to know someone personally for the first time, one-on-one, it's a lot of pressure, but it's also just super precious, and there's a huge responsibility with that. So that's kind
Definitely.
of the insight. I was like, oh, oh no, no, we got this, we got this.
Yeah. So if you could go back to the start of the project, so before it was approved, what advice
Mhm.
would you give yourself?
Oh my gosh. Practice, talk to people. I'm really shy. So that's one of my things. It's just like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna start talking to people one-on-one by myself. Sometimes Lids and I will like partner up together and do interviews together.
Mhm.
So if it's in person, I'll do the camera, Lids will do the questions, or vice versa. And that works really well because it's just like you have someone else in the room with you. But it's the whole like I'm really shy and I wish I told myself to like go out and talk to people more. So then I had a better like base to go off of when starting the research. Regardless, I've gotten training, so I'm kind of improving at it, but the goal is to improve more. So yeah.
Nice. So now I want to transition and talk a little bit about the amazing work you're doing with the School of Medicine at UC Riverside.
Okay.
So what inspired you to get involved in this work with Dr. Teraguchi and the School of Medicine?
Honestly, what inspired me most was kind of the approach that Dr. Teraguchi and Steve had. I didn't know the backstory, but Dr. Teraguchi came up to the Native American student programs one day and just started having an honest conversation, just like, hey, we'd like to make a connection. Like, here's my email, here's my meeting times, here's my little link to make meetings. I mean, it just kind of happened. And because of Noko and Summer, like reaching out to him and continuing that connection, I was given the opportunity to get to know him and then asking him about advice when pursuing medicine. And it just kind of happened. At that time, I was also looking out for research, and it was difficult because every time I tried to reach out to a professor that I was in a lab in, or just looking up on the research portal for any type of research to get to be a part
Mhm.
of, they were always full. So at the time when I met him, he was like, "Oh, like if you're looking for research, just like let me know." And I didn't take that as an invitation. I just thought like, oh, okay, cool, all right. I'm like, okay, you probably know something, not thinking like, oh, that was an invitation. Whoops, I wasn't reading the signals. Um, but yeah, that was kind of the reason why I wanted to get into it. After a second meeting with him, after that initial meeting was like I wasn't reading the signs or the signals. He was talking about the research that he was kind of starting up and that it was still in its beginning phases and they were still determining what they wanted to do with it. So I was able to like kind of slowly be a part of it and see the different artworks that two of my previous team members have done. They're still on the team, but like the work that they've done so far with it and what it looks like and the questions that they developed themselves, it was just like, whoa, this is really cool. Before it became a whole emphasis on native journeys and native life stories. So it was really great to see. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll join if you have space.
Yeah, I love to hear that there was a meaningful connection, especially in these academic institutions where a lot of tokenism can come into play. So, with
hmm
that, how does this initiative create meaningful pathways for Native students to pursue medical school?
Yeah. Um, Honestly, I'd say being part of the research. One thing that we like to say, like when you join, what is like, what do you learn from it? What do you get from it? And when we're a physician, right, we have to ask the right questions when we're getting to know our patient. We have so little time to figure out what's going on, how can we help, especially like their background and what their life is like. So it's just like learning how to ask the right questions. A lot of the times during the interviews, we have such limited questions and we have to like come up with follow-up questions, right? So it's just like thinking on your feet, trying to find the right question to ask. That kind of helps put the piece together as well as get to know the person better. So it's just like, oh, you said something interesting. Can you kind of like talk about that one a little bit more? Or what does that mean to you when you said this is this, you know? So it's just like being a part of the research or being part of the research and being an interviewee, it kind of helps put together of like how are people putting the right questions together, but also just being a part of it. So it's just like join, ask questions, and practice on asking questions, which is kind of what we're doing with our internship right now. So we have a little internship going with the medical school pathways program. So we're doing an internship of where we kind of introduce our research and try to see if our methods are working and if it's good, if it should be changed. But also allow them to ask each other those questions and see if they can become personable with their neighbors and seeing if they can ask those right questions. And kind of practice it because it's going to be important later.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that kind of answered my next question of if you had any advice for other Native researchers or institutions looking to support Indigenous students in STEM or medicine. Is there anything else you'd like to add onto that?
Ask someone within the community for advice, I'd say is really important. If you want to do and help out that community, go talk to that community. That's really important. Don't assume like what a community needs because if you're not a part of it, how do you know what they need?
Mhm.
I think that's most important because it's like if you want to help students, in STEM, talk to those organizations that have created things for Native students in STEM and it's like, how can I help? How can I add on? Is there anything I can offer? Things like that. Talk to someone. Talk to someone within the community. I think that is my honest answer for those that want to help for students in STEM and medical.
Definitely. So now we're closing. I just have a few more questions to ask you. And the
Yeah,
next one is, what's a skill that you've developed through this work that you're proud of?
talking to people. Like I said, I'm shy. I know back in high school, I used to be this person that was so much better at public speaking, and that was not by choice, by the way. I very much had to do a lot of presentations for my school before Sherman Indian High School, and that kind of helped me get better at it. But then as COVID hit and joining college, it was hard to get back to that level that I knew that I was at. So joining this research just kind of helped me get back to where I know that I could have been and getting to know people within the community that I've been meaning to get to know since the beginning, since I started this or joined the community so late. It's great to kind of one, get to know people within the community and two, be better at knowing how to talk to them, and not being so shy about it. So I think that's one of the skills is definitely public speaking.
Yes. Would you also say that that is part of like the most rewarding aspect of your work?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. There's just so there's some people that we'd like to interview, of course, and I see them as like, oh, I will never talk to this person ever, like I'll see them at a powwow and like wave if I recognize them, but I won't go up and talk to them just because I'm a shy person. So I think just getting to know their life story and interviewing them and actually introducing myself, kind of makes it easier to make that connection. So it's just like make a connection with them, they can make a connection with you, make a connection for other people. So that's the goal.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about your research?
Um, the team is great. I love the team. I love the team so much. I'm a beginner, so I'm not very good at art. I'm not very good at our art at all. And it hurts when you have a vision for someone's story, but you can't capture it. Because your artistic skills can't. So, having other people in our team that do have an art background and can do justice to what that person envisions and how you want to envision it in their vision, for their drawing, it's so helpful because they know how to do it. Um, and it's just really nice to have a team behind you that's just like, oh, I definitely know how to ask this question. Like, this is definitely what you could have improved on. And I think that's what I value the most is that when I started off, I was getting all these like, this is what you should improve on, this is what you should have asked instead. This is what a follow-up question could have looked like. And that's really rewarding because it's just like, oof, yeah, you're so right. I did not ask that question. Because sometimes when we're interviewing with someone and then we do their drawing, it's like you want to minimalize the assumptions as much as possible. Because you just don't want to put your assumption on that person's drawing. That's not doing their journey or their drawing justice. So it's just like, you're doing a good job when you don't have questions afterwards, or doing questions when you're doing the drawing. So that's what we're practicing on. That's what we're practicing on. But otherwise, yeah, team is helpful.
I'm so glad you have a network of support, and I'm very excited to see the amazing work that you're currently conducting. So, nono kakinauan. Thank you so much, Jordyn.
No, thank you, Alakoy.
Okay, thank